Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Vendetta Sports Daily Show. Happy Tuesday to you all. I'm Chris Bagdonas here with Matt Hanifan. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing good, man. I'm in a different location today. It's a little temporary, but I'm ready to shoot some. I'm ready to talk. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. So obviously the Slack's been pretty
Shit.
quiet, but I figured a great segue into our first topic was obviously we saw Chad was having a great time during that Eagles 49ers game, so we can jump right into that. It was a bit of a bloodbath, as we could pretty much tell from the second quarter, even beginning of the first quarter onward, as the Eagles, I think the final score is like 31-7.
Yep.
And
No, it felt. I was rooting for the Eagles. I had a bet with my friend. We just had like a side bet, like you get X amount of money if the Niners win, I get X amount of money if the Eagles win. So it was just like a kind of like a fun little friendly wager. But like as someone who was probably rooting for the Eagles, it wasn't an entertaining game. Like I was bored.
no, no,
And
I
it
think
and it
the
sucks
yeah,
because you can never plan or you can never expect what happened to happen in a game, right? Like
yeah,
it was like I felt like I was like the second or third play Purdy got hurt, the fumble happens. And then of course Josh Johnson comes in from there on out. Like it didn't feel the same. I mean, I know Philly didn't play particularly. I don't want to say they didn't play well, but like it was 7-0 for like a decent amount of time. And then
yeah.
McCaffrey scores the touchdown, they tie it up, and we're just like, wait, like San Francisco's like still have a shot in this. And then of course they score the two touchdowns before halftime. Johnson has that fumble, and just from there on out, the win was completely taken out of the sails. And it's like
Yeah.
when you have a quarterback who is like a journeyman,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I can't remember, has Johnson ever like been like he hasn't been like a full-time starter, right?
No, I think he's just filled in a gap mostly
Yeah,
across
like
rosters.
yeah, you're in like a hostile environment that I mean, in a playoff in an NFC championship game, like that's always tough to come back from no
Yeah.
matter if you have McCaffrey or Kittle or Ayuk or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the quarterback's an important spot and then he gets hurt. Then it's
Yeah.
like, all right, like the entire second half, it was almost like they're just running the ball. Like you can't throw the
Yeah.
ball.
And like,
Because
yeah.
Purdy can't throw. I think he had like one pass attempt that was a screen
Yeah, I
attempt. He
saw
couldn't
like
throw
he could
longer than
throw it
10
five
yards.
yards maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, like he couldn't throw longer than 10 yards. So it's like you're significantly hindered. But then you look at like the stat sheet after the fact, and it's like McCaffrey had 84 yards on 15 carries. Like for to
Yeah.
have that kind of yards per carry and to have that like kind of production when everyone knows you're going to get the ball in every play from pretty much the entire second half, like that's
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
That is I mean, it shows like
Um,
that talent
Against a good run
level.
defense.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was just thinking about it, and I think the most interesting or entertaining part of that game was the Trent Williams body slam in the fourth quarter when that whole scrum happened. That's when I like kind of like I was on my phone and I looked up. I was like, oh, I was like telling my buddies like,
Right,
look, there's a fight, guys. Like Trent Williams is in the
right,
middle of it, and that was like the most entertaining part, pretty
right.
much.
I don't remember who he slammed, but I know I tweeted from the Vendetta account like it would suck to get body slammed by that dude.
He is a big man. He was
Like
it literally
in
was like
no
a UFC
circumstance is
move.
that
Like
fun. Like even if you're like a 230-pound, like it's just that would not be.
yeah,
He is a large human being. That would
he is.
be
Yeah,
a terrible experience. A
that
terrible
is not
experience.
fun. And again,
Um,
like you said, like going to your hostile environment point, the Bosa family was, they had
yep,
their work cut out for them.
yep. Oh man, has there been a tougher week uh for like Joey Bosa in his life, or a tougher 2 weeks?
Yeah,
I mean,
I that's a good point. The Chargers blew that wild card game, and then you get
right.
all your 49ers gear on, you had the whole family out there, and you just watch, I guess who was it? Lane Johnson who was on him, and he just absolutely silenced him. That was like tough to watch.
Right. Here I'm getting the video up now.
Oh yeah,
No, it's tough
it's crazy.
for uh for Joey. Here, let me see if I can. Okay. start this.
He's just chilling. He's having a good time. He's rooting for his brother. They're like, come on. Come on, Joey. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's like par for the course with Eagles fans. Obviously, I think it goes without saying that they are passionate to a fault.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like, that's just a tough trash talking look, though, for Bosa, not for the Philly fans. I mean, it's like,
yeah,
because it's like you respond with like the butt buddies, and it's just like, come on, dude, this is like, that's like me trying to trash talk someone. I'm admittedly not good at trash talking.
Well, I'm not. I'm terrible.
When it would come to a situation like that, but then the fact that like that's like your best response, like that's like middle school stuff, dude. Like that's
I know.
a little tough. It's tough.
Yeah, definitely. Not a good look.
And the dude's like, I find it funny how the dude's like, yeah, like I can afford this stuff. He's like, yeah, me too. Like, like probably not, but still very funny how respond. But then again, like Philly, like they would respect you if you were like a good trash talker.
Oh, for sure.
That, I mean, half the video he was just saying his name. Like that was not a good Joey Bosa moment.
Yeah. I mean, obviously,
he might want to have that one back. I don't know, but like, I can't say I would react better or worse if I was in his shoes. So I guess that's
100%. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you want to stand up in front of your whole family and stuff, but also like, now the whole internet, it's on the, it's all over the place.
Right.
How that go down inside the Chargers organization? Who knows?
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna be.
Yeah.
He's not gonna catch like a fine for it or something like that.
No way. That would be shocking. Yeah.
I can't remember the last time someone used the word butt buddies.
Butt buddies. Hey, it creeps in every now and again. I know a thing or two about butt buddies from I think there's like some SpongeBob episode back in that's the Bubble Buddy, whatever it was.
Yeah. No, it's just that's I don't know.
But
that was tough. That was heck. You can make an argument that was the most entertaining part of the game.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that game was just a snooze fest after those two touchdowns. And like, I mean, also Trey said it. I gotta give Shanahan credit. He didn't just completely wave the white flag. He was trying, wildcat with McCaffrey. Like he was just trying everything he could. But it's interesting to see where the 49ers will go at quarterback because Trey Lance, is he going to be healthy? Jimmy Garoppolo's a free agent. Obviously, Purdy tore his UCL. Like, I don't really know what the future holds for them. Should be quite interesting.
If you were to put money on it? I mean, you don't have to put money on it, but like if you were to like pick one, pick an option, who do you think starts?
I think if he's healthy, I think they got to go with Trey Lance. That was their plan. That was the blueprint they had going into last year. Obviously, he got hurt in like week 2 or whatever. He just broke his tibia or whatever it was. But I think if he's healthy, obviously it was a pretty messed up injury. I think he broke his leg in a couple places. Obviously, there's no guarantees he'll be ready by training camp. But I think you got to forget about all the craziness that's happened. Obviously, they've made 2 straight NFC Championship games, but you got to remember, like Trey Lance, you gave up, a pretty big package to get that number 3 pick and draft him. So, unless, like, look, I saw Trey say it. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers would really be on the table for them. Obviously, he's got the huge contract. The Packers are going to want at least 1 or 2 first-round picks. I know the Jets are obviously trying to jockey their horses to get in the race for him, but I don't know. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch handle this.
Yeah. Going back to the Lance thing, I can't help but ignore, like, Purdy's thrown more attempts than Lance has in, like, the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Like,
that is a pretty...
He just doesn't have the reps. And also, like, Purdy made like half as many starts as Garoppolo did this year and threw like 3 fewer touchdowns, had a similar completion percentage, threw for nearly 1,500 yards. Like, Purdy was good in those, I think, 9 or 10 games that he played
Yeah.
the postseason. But then again, like, you're not necessarily wrong when you say that, like, yeah, they invested a lot in Trey Lance, but then I also will revert back to, like, it might just be Jimmy G at the end. Like, he might
Yeah,
just come
they
back.
could find a way to get him back on
Yeah,
a
like,
pretty reasonable contract.
Like, heading into this year, I don't think we expected Jimmy G to start just because, like, of like the Lance factor. But then again, like, Trey Lance gets hurt. They sign him to this weird kind of extension that no one really expected them to sign after holding him out of quarterback meetings, all that.
Yeah.
Like, off the field drama. But then again, he starts for most of the season, unfortunately gets hurt towards the latter half. And now you're starting Mr. Irrelevant, and Mr. Irrelevant, like, plays out of his mind. Like, it could be any one of those 3 options, but, like, I would guess, assuming everyone's healthy, I would probably pick Purdy, but I'm just as bit of a limbo as you are. Because, I mean, I think Purdy looked the best.
He did. 100%. But I also feel like it's an indictment on just the luxury of having the system that Kyle Shanahan has built. Like, obviously, they have 3 of the best yards after contact players in the game with Kittle, Samuel, and McCaffrey. Like, you know, you can throw him a slant, you can throw him a pretty short pass, and they can just do the work themselves. And Ayuk had a great year. Obviously, I know Ayuk's a bit of a hot subject in the Slack about, is he for real? Is this just a flash in the pan year? But, you know, obviously Ayuk is, to be a number 4 option in an offense like that, obviously it's like you said, it just comes down to the quarterback. Obviously, Purdy had the most reps, and he, for the most part, he looked good. But obviously, this UCL surgery, I think they said 6 months. So right around the start of training camp, I guess he'll be 100%, quote unquote. But you know, I'm with you. I feel like Jimmy G, like, you know, obviously he was behind Tom Brady in New England, but he's been around winning environments for a very long time. And I think just having that mindset, obviously the big upset they had in Green Bay last year, they went toe to toe with the Rams last year. I think they'll figure it out. I just, knowing the 49ers and knowing the people they have in place, I just think they're going to make the right decision. We just don't know who.
It's like, is there, just like throwing this just out there on the wall, maybe it sticks, maybe it doesn't, but, like, is there a chance that, like, Tom Brady's head to San Fran?
I know. I'm thinking about that too.
That, like, there might be something there. I have no idea, but, like, if they don't have confidence in any of their 3 or as much confidence, I mean, I think I would probably have more confidence in Jimmy G and Purdy, and I don't even know if I wouldn't Lance, but, like, I think I would have more confidence in them than in Brady. But then again, Brady didn't have an offensive line this year,
and he also has a great running game there that'll open things up for him.
Right, like, yes, you would have a lot of skill position players and a good offensive line to work with. So maybe there's that. I have no idea, but it might be Jimmy G in the end. Like,
I think so.
Put it on record. It's again, assuming everyone's healthy. Again, you mentioned that Purdy won't be back for another 6 months. Torn UCLs. I mean, we see it in baseball with pitchers. I mean, it's a little bit different, but it's still tricky. It takes a long recovery regardless. And especially when you're a quarterback, it's not like you're like a running back or a receiver or another position to where you're not using the throwing motion as much as, like,
100%.
Quarterbacks. Tricky in and of itself. I mean, like, Lance again had that terrible knee injury. Who knows how long that's going to take to recover? That could take a year plus. I have no idea. And then with, I think I don't know if you mentioned, was it a broken foot for Garoppolo?
I think so. I don't know exactly what it was, but I feel if my memory's correct, I think it was a broken foot.
It was something like that. So, like, that might not take a long while to recover. I have no idea. I haven't done enough research for that, but, like, that could take a few months at least. Again, he might be your safest bet.
Yeah.
In terms of starting, because again, he has experience in the offense. He knows the offense as well as any of the quarterbacks on the roster. We know Kyle trusts him a lot, or at least he has in the past. I mean,
for sure.
Or at least, I mean, I guess not heading into this last year, but guess what? He started what 9-10 games because of an injury. He didn't play bad in those games either. He was
No, he didn't.
good until he went down. Just Purdy played a lot better. I think that kind of
Purdy was
overshadowed everything. But as of right now, with 2 injured quarterbacks, might be or
tough.
really 3 injured quarterbacks, but like Jimmy G might be the healthiest by the time the training camp starts. Who the heck knows? But some kind of like a segue into that. Like I was having a discussion with my dad yesterday about it. Should there be like a third quarterback? Like they had the emergency quarterback rule placed like before like 2011, where like you could carry a third quarterback on your roster like in like the playoffs as like an emergency option. Like they got rid of that rule and they instead added like an extra roster spot for any position. Who knows what that position was for San Francisco. But I think it expanded from like 45 to like 46 on the game day or something like that. Do you think we should bring that back just because of this like weird kind of scenario that's happened in San Francisco? I mean, it's a weird situation because San Francisco obviously went in with 2 quarterbacks. Again, as I belabored before, you can't expect what happened to happen in a scenario like this, but it ultimately happened. And so for the future, do you think there's like a situation where they might think about bringing that rule back just in case? I mean, because this stunk. Like this stunk. I mean, it sucked for everyone but like Philly fans. But even they can admit like we'll never know whether or not a healthy San Francisco, or at least a healthy Purdy, could beat Philly in an NFC Championship. I mean, it was expected to be a pretty even game, I would say.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think thinking about what you said with the rule, I definitely think, knowing the NFL, knowing that they really value ratings and they value, kind of a good product on the field, I feel like that could definitely cross their minds this offseason. And I was thinking about like Josh Johnson, like you said, he's a journeyman. He's never really been a quality like full-time starter. I think even if they looked at like the depth of free agency at the quarterback position, they could find someone who was at least like, maybe had half a season, a full season as a starter, kind of knows like, obviously like before this season, I was thinking like, a guy like Geno Smith. Obviously the Seahawks are inclined to keep him, but someone who's been around a team or teams for an extended period of time, I think they could find that, and it's like you said, like these flash, he's kind of come out of the woodwork, Geno Smith, the Pro Bowler, Brock Purdy had a great second half. I think there's definitely, they're not the only 2 examples. I'm sure you could find people, still like kind of looking for an opening, and, they just kind of come in and perform. But it's definitely a very interesting subject because, obviously that roster spot is also important because you think about how important it is to have a good secondary in the playoffs. To have an extra cornerback or a safety in there is also a pretty big deal. Obviously, when you look at, I guess kind of moving gears to the AFC title game, how much importance has been put on the passing game in recent years. And you just saw like, a shootout between Mahomes, who was even on a banged up ankle, put in a pretty darn good performance against Joe Burrow, who also, did not go down without a fight.
Yeah, like how valuable would a third quarterback be compared to like, I don't know, a 5th or 6th or 7th defensive back or a receiver? Like what would be the value? I mean, again, you can't expect something like this to happen, but in the off chance that it does happen, how much more valuable would a quarterback be relative to those other positions? I have no idea. I mean, you could also say the same about like if you were to get an extra receiver, because it's like, as you mentioned, as we saw with Kansas City's top 2 receivers got hurt. Like Hardman got hurt. I mean, they were running like Sky Moore out there. Like, no disrespect to Sky Moore, but like, I mean, you wouldn't expect him to be one of your top 2 options outside of Kelce, or top 3 options in a playoff game, and especially in an AFC Championship game. Like what's like how would someone like that weight it? I mean, I guess that's more rhetorical than like people much smarter than me could answer that question, but like that's the question that I would have when proposing something like this, because it's like you never know. It was like worst case scenario for San Francisco.
No, it was. Yeah, it was like code red for them, and Yeah, I mean, I obviously it's like a 1 in a million type of thing, like you said. Like,
Right. Like,
how do you ever guess that, the 3 quarterbacks on your depth chart, teams are ready for QB1 to be down, and then you're dealing with your second and third string, but then those 2 guys also go down. So it's like, you know, it's kind of like a double-sided thing. Like, obviously, the rule can be changed theoretically, but like, when are we ever going to see something like that happen again?
right. Like, who the heck knows? It was
Yeah.
such bad luck for San Francisco, and yet they still won as many games as they did and
Yeah.
got the 2 seed. And shit, man, they nearly they were a
nearly
game
did
away
it.
from making the Super Bowl. Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't ignore the job that like Shanahan and co did.
Yeah.
And Trey's 100% right. Like, you can't fault Shanahan for this. I mean, at the same time, San Francisco did have like a bunch of boneheaded penalties in that game, like roughing the punter, and I think they had like a couple late out of bounds, holding, false start.
Yeah.
Like, they had boneheaded plays that like
Oh, yeah.
when you can't shoot yourself in the foot in that situation. And a lot of that, at least in this, like after everything that transpired, like a lot of that's just frustration.
Oh, of course.
But like, I don't know that I don't think that's an indictment on Shanahan that much.
No way.
Like Shanahan, he's one of the best coaches in the league. Like, you can't,
Bar none. Yeah.
yeah. Like, he did a heck of a job with that team this year, and I'm sure they're going to be just as good, if not better, next year. I know they're losing a few players though, but
Yeah, I know they're gonna have to
they
work out
might
some
find a way to
contracts.
re-sign them. The NFL salary cap breaks my brain. I don't even try to think about how you can manipulate cap stuff with the NFL, because it's like the guaranteed money,
Yeah.
the
The
non-guaranteed money.
bonuses, all that stuff.
Yeah, extending guys to the cap. Like, people who work with that stuff for a living could do that stuff. It breaks my brain every time I even try to think about that. Like,
I'm not even gonna try. Like, it's
Yeah,
just we're too far beyond my pay grade, my mathematical skills to even like venture into that.
I'll leave that to Trey. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I certainly agree. And I guess we just kind of talked about it, with Sky Moore. I want to give a shout out to MVS. He had a great game, kind of filling in the absence of Hardman and Kadarius Toney. I think he had something like 6 receptions for 116 yards and a touchdown. Like, he was that guy. I know, obviously, we all knew him as like a speedster back in Green Bay, but he really, he was outside of Kelce, who also had the injury concern with his back. He really showed up for Mahomes and the Chiefs in a very big spot.
Some are asking if MVS is the most valuable player in the league. He's played with the last 3 MVPs.
I mean,
Rodgers didn't get an MVP with MVS. Mahomes lost Tyreek Hill. I don't know. Some are posing that question.
I mean, it's not a. I mean, I think obviously, it's one game, but I think I've always had respect for him. Ever since he was out in Green Bay as like a third or fourth option. I knew there was something there, and I'm happy the Chiefs, took that gamble on. Not a gamble, but they picked him up in free agency. They obviously needed that huge hole to fill with Tyreek Hill, and I at first the whole Juju business I wasn't a fan of, but he is so far he's kept his mouth mostly shut. No TikTok dances really from what I've seen. He's done his job, and now both him, MVS and Juju are going to be playing in their first career Super Bowl. So good, hats off to them.
You're gonna jinx. You're jinxing him now.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Don't let he and Jackson Mahomes do some TikTok in Arizona or something.
I know. That would probably burn the stadium down if something happened like that.
Listen, they're gonna sneak it in on like a Friday afternoon news dump. Just wait. Just wait. No,
under the radar.
MVS was awesome in that.
He was that guy for Mahomes.
I think I jokingly tweeted of course, as a Vikings fan, I'd poke fun at Packers all the time. It's like just to wonder what MVS could do with like a real quarterback or something like that. But like just in general, like he was really good. And like that. I mean, that's, you said it. That was one of my bigger takeaways too. Like how good just the ancillary weapons that Mahomes had outside of Kelce with the back injury. I mean, Kelce still was phenomenal too.
Oh, he dominated still.
7 catches for 70 yards, something like that.
Yeah.
Like he was really good too, but just the weapons outside of him, we were wondering who would step up in that kind of game, and MVS did like a phenomenal job all game.
Oh yeah.
He's not having the drops that he had or supposedly had in Green Bay that he's had in Kansas City, at least from what I know.
Oh yeah. And
And
yeah, I mean, it was a really excellent game, and I was just thinking about it. Obviously, it's the Super Bowl. We have the Kelce Bowl, and it's also the Andy Reid Bowl. And like, I was just thinking about how good Andy Reid is, how underrated he's been. Like, he just knew exactly what to draw up at those key moments. Obviously, we could spend all day talking about the officiating and about that game, and I kind of touched on it. I made a post about Kelce clapping back at the mayor of Cincinnati, and I kind of brought up obviously Joseph Asai at the very end and the phantom call, the extra third down play there. There's a lot of things you could dissect from that, but
the block
I
in the
think
back on the punt return that they missed.
yeah, it's just there's a laundry list of missed calls, phantom calls, whatever you want to call it. But I have to give Andy Reid credit just for using really the scraps, like you kind of said, like the bottom end of the depth chart at receiver. Obviously, as a Giants fan, I could tell you Kadarius Toney is a mixed bag, to keep it an understatement. One day he's gonna he'll torch you like he had a great game against the Cowboys last year, but then you won't see him for 4 or 5 weeks because of like an injured foot or an injured hamstring or something like that. So obviously, there was that touchdown he caught that wasn't a catch.
Call back.
But hats off to Andy Reid again. I think he's gonna, he doesn't show much emotion, but I feel like he's gonna be a little extra fired up on the subject of playing his former team, especially how his exit in Philadelphia was back in the day.
And the fact that it's like, this has been like repeated a bunch of times, but like just him off 2 weeks, like him off a bye or him off of like extra rest, like he's got something in the bag that like you just don't foresee happening. Like the hook and ladder that we saw in Sunday Minute.
Yeah.
I know that's not on 2 weeks rest, but like he and Bieniemy like played design
They're in the lab
wizardry half the time, and like. I just wonder, like, that's why I mean, I haven't made an official prediction yet for the Super Bowl.
Me neither.
But like, you can't ignore the fact that Reid coming off of extra rest, that factor that you mentioned about him playing his old team, like that certainly plays a part in who you would choose, I guess. I mean, I think Philly has the better team, but again, I haven't made it like an official prediction yet. Who do you think has more on the line between Jason and Travis Kelce? Because it's like both each have a Super Bowl. I'm sure both next year's Thanksgiving dinner are going to have a fun time with the rings. Like what? Like who? Who would you?
I mean,
I don't think any. I phrased that wrong, but like both. Have a Super Bowl, both are going at it against each other again. Like,
I honestly, after thinking about it a little bit, I feel like obviously Jason Kelce, I think, is one of the most underrated football players ever. As at that center position, what he's been able to do as a Giants fan, obviously, like you just don't see him because of how good he is. Like your defensive tackle is going to get almost nothing on him, and he's just been a steady Eddie for the Eagles for as long as I can remember. But my answer is Travis because they had the graphic up before the game on Sunday between the Chiefs and the Bengals, and he was third all-time in postseason touchdowns behind Rob Gronkowski and Jerry Rice, and I'm pretty sure he passed Gronkowski. I think he got either 1 or 2 touchdowns, but I think if he gets a second Super Bowl and on top of, another All-Pro, another Pro Bowl, whatever, I feel like that's just I think that could kick him above like Gronk, Tony Gonzalez as the greatest tight end of all time. I really do. And just what he's been able to do for the better part of a decade is just pretty remarkable.
Yeah, no, when they flashed the postseason graphic on, I don't remember like when it was during the game, but like when they flashed that postseason graphic, like all of his postseason stats, I was like, that's like good enough for like an entire season. Like, like 130 catches for like 1,500 yards. I can't remember how many touchdowns, but
like 14 or 15 touchdowns.
Like, just like goodness, dude. Like, just in his postseason career, it's insane.
Yeah,
and they said that was like, like second or third all time or whatever for like players. It wasn't even just tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, just ridiculous. Like, I mean, both the Kelces are going to be in the Hall of Fame pretty much as soon as they retire. They'll be on the ballot. But it's just, it's kind of a cool thing just to see two players really just at the top of their game. And now, there's going to be quite some bragging rights on the line in a couple of weeks. And I for one can't wait to see it between those two.
Oh yeah, I don't know if they're gonna do the podcast.
Yeah, that's right. I
Um,
saw Jason's tweet. He's
yeah.
done being a Chiefs fan.
Yep. Rightfully so. No. He should continue being a Chiefs fan. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, as a Giants fan and you as a Vikings fan, I think we can both agree that he could be a Chiefs fan for all I care.
I don't really have a vendetta against the Eagles. I'll be completely honest.
That's fair. You have no reason.
Like 2017 pissed me off, but
yeah,
that was 2017. So, I mean,
fair
the part of me when I was watching San Francisco, Philly was like, I wanted it to get to 38-7, just so I could text my Niner fan friends like, "Been there, dude," or I wanted to get to 38-7, but fortunately, it didn't happen. Still a blowout. Still unfortunate.
Yeah,
but no, like I don't have a vendetta against the Eagles anymore. I mean, I guess they're fan base, but when it comes to fans, like I don't really have vendetta against many fan bases or vendetta. No pun intended, but I don't have like a gripe.
I feel that.
Fan bases, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I just have some Cowboys and Eagles grievances, but other than that, I'm pretty even keel with all the fan bases across the league. But
what do you think about the Empire State Building?
I'm kind of just done with it. I'm not gonna pay them any mind. They can do what they want for all I care. It's just like, come on, man. This is New York City. You're gonna piss off Giants fans. You're probably gonna piss off some Jets fans too, just because. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're not, if Philadelphia had their own Empire State Building, that's fine, go for it. But like, what's the rationale? Why didn't they light it up red and white for the Chiefs after they won? Like, that's my whole question.
They did.
Oh, they did. All right,
they did.
Then. So I guess they're just trying to rally up.
I've seen the point where it's like, I don't know if they've done it. I feel like I've seen like people say they do it for like every single like team. I don't know if they did it for like the divisional, but like if it's like a championship environment, like a championship game, I've heard they do it for everyone. I don't know if they did it for like Yankees Astros, for example. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't recall. I mean, it's weird because they'll do it like with the Islanders, like when they played the Rangers, that the New York rivalry, like, and the Islanders win, they'll light it up blue and orange for them. Like, it's, you really can't predict like what their whole rationale is behind lighting it up certain colors. I don't know, for holidays or what, but it's weird.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm sure they've done it in the past for like different Super Bowl champions. I don't know if they did it for like New England when they won, because I know
that would piss a lot of people off.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, they did it.
Oh yeah, there you go.
They did it for the Chiefs. That hurt us. Kind of a funny tweet.
A little satire.
Yeah, but they did do it.
Yeah, that's on me. I didn't even. Folks, Matt just I think may have accidentally left. I assume he'll be back in a second. Maybe his internet is out, but just take a few seconds, wait for him to get back on. Hope everyone's having a good Tuesday.
I accidentally clicked the wrong. My bad.
No worries. I knew you'd be back. I thought it was internet or something, but
no, it wasn't. I clicked the wrong button. I'm an idiot. But I'm not sure. Like, I'm trying to remember what I was going to say. I think I just.
It's just the Empire State, but we can. I mean, what do you think? Obviously, the Islanders. We could talk about that. We got some NBA stuff. Always, like the Beam. The Kings had a huge win in Minnesota last night.
Well, we could start with some hockey. I heard a trade happen.
Yes,
I heard.
So
one singular
my New York Islanders, yes. So they are currently on the outside looking in on the playoffs. And, this season, I made a post and a video about it, and I said that the season up until yesterday was on life support. They were really starting to lose some games, and this guy right here, Bo Horvat, was their big name. The captain, he used to be the captain of the Vancouver Canucks, and they shipped him over here in a pretty sizable package for a roster player named Anthony Beauvillier. He's been on the Islanders a couple of years. He's got a pretty decent sized contract. And then they got a young player named Atu Ratu, who was kind of their number one prospect. He broke into the team this season. He was, kind of flipping up and down between the majors and the minors, but I would assume he's going to stay in the Vancouver either major league system or would go down to the minors. And then a conditional first round pick where I think it's top 12 protected. So if the Islanders do end up missing the playoffs and fall into that draft lottery and they end up in the top 12, that means they'll keep the pick and it'll move to next year and be unprotected to Vancouver. But I think, I was hoping that it could have been somebody else, but I'm honestly not that upset. It's a lot to digest all at once, but he's a great player. He's a leader. He's a captain. And obviously he does play center, which will mean one of the current centers they have will have to go out on the wing, which I don't think is the end of the world. But I think it's a good trade, and I have a feeling, obviously, the whole ordeal surrounding it was he's going to be out of a contract this summer, so we don't know if he's just going to be a rental for the rest of the season or if they're going to be able to get an extension done with him. I'm currently of the mindset where if the team does improve and play better, I think they're going to get him done to an extension. And again, I think he's a really good player. And, as long as they play their cards right, there's still another month, I think, until the trade deadline. But Bo Horvat's a really good player. I think he comes in at the right time. They could have done this 2 weeks from now, a little closer to the deadline, but they gave up some quality assets and they got one of the biggest fish on the trade market in return. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm happy as an Islanders fan. And one little point I'll touch on is that he was supposed to be in the All-Star game for the West, for the Pacific Division, but now that he's been traded to the East, I don't know how that's going to go. I don't know who he's going to represent or if he's going to have to sit out the All-Star game, but that's my closing point on Horvat and the Islanders. So I'm looking forward to his debut, but I think they have the All-Star break now, so we're going to have to wait a little bit.
Is the Islanders are just outside? I think I looked this up early before we got on, but Islanders are just outside of the playoff chase, right?
Yeah, they're a couple of points back, but they do have a lot of games played. So they're going to have to hope the people in front of, the teams in front of them can lose some games and drop some points. Yeah, you got it right there. The Islanders are, I believe, 3 points out. Yeah, Boston's still up there. No one's touching them. Yeah, the Islanders are 3 points or 2 points back at Pittsburgh, but they have 3 more games played. So they're, those games against Pittsburgh are going to obviously mean a lot more heading down the stretch, and they're going to have to rely on the Penguins losing a couple games in order for it to even out. And then obviously Ovechkin and the Capitals, they have the same amount of games played, but are 3 points ahead of the Islanders. So that's a little bit more feasible maybe, but again, you're going to have to kick either Sidney Crosby or Alex Ovechkin out of a playoff spot, which has not been done for the greater part of 15 years. So obviously it's a pretty tall task ahead of them.
Okay. Is this like, do you think this is like the first of, I don't want to say mini moves, but like the first of maybe a couple moves that the Islanders do make?
I personally would say yes. I think another big key point of this trade is that Vancouver actually retained 25% of Horvat's salary so that, the cap number goes down a little bit. And
what was he making?
I forget, but I think what they reduced it to made the amount of money coming in is the same amount of money that the Islanders gave up. So there's no real impact on their salary. They don't gain or lose any particular amount of dollars. But another conspiracy theory that's actually kind of interesting, because it's a month until the trade deadline, people are saying if this deal goes sideways for the Islanders and they're not able to make up the space in the playoff race, they may actually flip Horvat again and get another, get an even bigger return potentially than what they gave up to get him initially, which I think obviously you can get the tin hats out. I highly doubt that's going to happen. I feel like they're going to get the extension done, but that's just a little food for thought as we inch towards the NHL trade deadline. And, as I said in the video, it's the first real big move we've seen. So it should be interesting to see how the trade market evolves after this.
I'm looking up what his contract is right now. I'm trying to see.
I forget the exact dollar amount. I know he's in line for a big payday. He's having a career year, but I forget quite what number it is right now.
Spot Track has his cap hit for the Islanders at 5.5, but I don't know if that's with.
I think that's before the
25%.
25%, because the player Beauvillier they shipped out was making like a little over 4 million. So I think that 5.5 is gonna, I guess whatever 25% of that is.
Okay. Got it. But nevertheless, Islanders making moves.
Yes,
Islanders making moves.
I've made multiple articles, on my hands and knees praying for them to do it, and they've done it. So I can't, I've got to eat my words. I can't complain. They made the move.
Yeah, no, I saw Trey praising him. I don't.
Yeah, Trey, I'm surprised. He was telling me that Trey was ready to same boat as me, give up on this Islander season, but it's like he said, he's trying to win. That's the end.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in terms of other NHL stuff, there's not really a lot going on. Like I said, the All-Star game is coming up, so there's going to be a break in the action, but should be a good season.
I was watching Bad Beats with my dad last night, and there was apparently, like, speaking of the Carolina Hurricanes curse, a couple nights ago maybe it was a couple nights ago. I don't remember exactly when this game exactly happened, but they've shown it last night. But it was Sharks Hurricanes. The Sharks were up like 4-2 with like a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
And still, like, Carolina scored 2 goals in the final couple minutes and still lost in overtime. Like,
yeah,
or not, Carolina didn't lose. San Jose lost.
Yeah, they won. Yeah, that was a pretty remarkable thing. Like, I mean, obviously,
it's not like anyone's probably going to bet the Sharks. I don't think they're good.
No, they're not. They're a bottom feeder, but still, you gotta find a way to hold on to a lead that late in the game.
Yeah, tough. I mean, hey, listen, that wasn't a curse. That was not an example of the Carolina Hurricanes curse. Maybe there is one later in the year, but from my one game sample size, it was not.
I know it's still manifesting a little more. We're waiting for it to take shape in that Hurricanes building, but I mean, Trey said it's working out for him. I guess the curse, because he has the Kane superstars Aho, and he's got him on his fantasy team. So Aho's putting up some goals and some points. So it's
I think he had one of those final 3 goals.
I'm sure he did. He's in the middle of everything for them. He's a very good player.
But I thought that was funny when I was watching it, because I don't follow hockey for people who are watching this. So if I sound like an idiot while talking hockey, I beg your pardon. But just from what I saw there, I was like, oh, interesting. But regardless, what do you want to jump into next, man? We had some.
I was actually about to find the
last night.
I'm about to find the NBA games from yesterday. I'm just trying to find this final scores.
Okay. Well,
oh wait, sorry.
I can pull it up. There was some interesting games. I didn't get to watch a whole lot last night, unfortunately. But
yeah, me neither. I watched some of the Nets and Lakers, but that's about it.
Yuck. No LeBron, no Anthony Davis, no Kevin Durant, no Ben Simmons.
Yeah. It was not
pretty much just Kyrie and Russ duking it out. I'm getting it up right now. Give me a moment. But there was, of course, the Minnesota Timberwolves, Sacramento Kings overtime fest.
Trey Lyles, you said it last week, man. He's
the bonus. Trey Lyles, man. He had, I think, 11 points. He had 8 of them in overtime, something like that. Or no.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was 11 points for the game or 11 points in like after Sabonis, because Sabonis fouled out.
Here, let me
quicker. You beat me to the punch, man.
No worries, man. Here, let's see.
He had 11
Lyles,
points.
I think 11 points.
I think he had like 8 in overtime, something like that, because Sabonis fouled out towards the end of the fourth. He finished with 17 and 13.
Yeah, I
But
mean that's a good. I mean, obviously we're used to more from him, but I feel like that's a good day in the office for Sabonis. Like 7 to
Fox with
10,
32.
70% shooting. Yeah, Fox is him. Fox is really making that next step.
Tough
And
crowd,
then
tough night for the Kevin Herter crowd.
yeah, 1 for 7.
Hey, just a
Obviously,
blip in
the
the road.
yeah. I mean, Keegan Murray was making some impact. Obviously, not the greatest shooting splits, but 13 and 13. You know, you can't complain. A steal, assist. And
I
then
mean,
bench.
Minnesota had like 18 turnovers and they had like 10 in the second half.
Yeah,
That's tough to come back from that. I mean, I think when I was looking at it, I think it was somewhere like 20, 21 points off turnovers for Sacramento. Like in a close game like that, that's tough. I mean,
yeah.
Gobert didn't look bad. Russell's been playing out of his mind lately. I know he only had the 10 points on 4 to 16 shooting last night. Anthony Edwards did Anthony Edwards things.
Yeah, he's doing. Yeah,
I want to say I tuned in to a little bit of that game. It's so tough watching Kyle Anderson shoot, but it makes me laugh every single time.
yeah. What it's like
Slow
such a
mo.
funny.
Jaden McDaniels, I love the way he's been playing lately.
Yeah,
But
I think it's
just
great they kept him from the Jazz.
mhm. Just a little tough night in the office for
Yeah, they got to turn it around. I mean,
Minnesota in
27 to
overtime.
26 isn't, obviously that's playing territory, but the Kings are really, jumping out with a 28 and 21 record. Let me see the other action. Wow, Magic.
No, yeah,
Pablo.
Magic. I'd watched. I want to not most of the second half, but I watched a decent amount. Mo Wagner was awesome last night.
Wow. 22 off the bench,
Banchero was
perfect free
awesome
throws.
last night.
Wow. I mean, it's like we said last week, man. They are in a pretty good spot, I would say. Next year, I think if they can just draft another, doesn't even have to be Victor, just another like impact guy, like another difference maker, whether it's a guard or a forward. Obviously, such a great story to see Jonathan Isaac back after a long hiatus. But I think the Magic are going to be. I think they're in really good shape moving forward.
Are they even going to be in the running for Victor?
I know.
Or like, are they even like in that territory? I mean, I feel like it's either going to be like Houston, San Antonio. Like I
Yeah.
think they might be in the top 5. I don't know. I haven't looked at the Tankathon lately, but like they might even be in like play for either of them.
Yeah.
Not to say they won't get anyone good like the Thompson twins or
Scoot Henderson or someone
Brandon
like that.
Miller or something like that. But like they may not be in Wemby Scoot territory anymore.
Yeah.
At least as of right now. I mean, I don't know what they're like. I mean, I know they've been winning lately. I don't know how much in a certain amount of games. I'd have to look that up. But to go on the road and beat Philly, I mean, they beat Philly up in the second half. Can you see like how much they outscored them by? Like,
Oh yeah, let me
the
find if
quarter
I
by
can find
quarter. Yeah, there's 42 points they outscored them by 14 in the third quarter and 6 in the fourth on the road.
wow.
They put up a 42
42 in the third. Yeah, that is just wow. I mean, yeah, and you just said it, Paulo Banchero. He's just I mean, obviously we've seen great rookie seasons in the past, but he just quietly just jumped right into NBA action. And he's like a mid-20 scorer already, which is just
Right.
pretty cool.
Right.
Obviously
He's
we haven't
having like a historically good rookie season.
Yeah.
Like one of the best since Braun.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we haven't really seen a huge big name in Orlando since like Dwight Howard, but I think we're looking at the next one right here.
Yeah, Jared and Trey did a video kind of on like the NBA stocks. It came out over the weekend. Please go check that out on our YouTube. Like and subscribe as always.
How's it going?
Oh,
Interest rates up. I've been looking to get a better savings account.
Is that yours?
But all the options have you up in the air. Well, yeah.
Sorry. All right.
Is that you? No free ads.
Yeah, no free ads. All right, we're back to this.
We've had a bunch of technical difficulties already.
Yeah.
But anyways,
but yeah, like you said, the NBA
video, and they were talking about the Magic, and like Jared made the point, like they could have the best, like Orlando could have like the best front court with Banchero and Banchero, Wendell Carter Jr., and then with Wagner, not Mo Wagner, Franz Wagner. Like they could have like one of the best like front courts, if not the best front court within.
And they got Bull, right?
Yeah, they got Bo. I mean, he's not. I don't think he's played as well. I mean, Mo Bamba's getting DNP CDs.
Yeah,
Like
I think his time in Orlando might be up.
It probably is, but just the fact that they have that kind of depth already in the front court, like
that's pretty remarkable.
Get yourselves like a true point guard if Suggs doesn't work out, or if Cole Anthony somehow doesn't work out, or whatever the case is. But then, like they're in a good spot. Like that would be a perfect Scoot team, and I think Jared made that point as well.
Yeah.
But looking at some of the other scores, I mean, the Warriors, Steph 38.
Shea, he's just doing it. I mean, obviously,
Yep.
They were the underdogs and they made it close, but I feel like if I'm OKC, do I trade Shea?
No.
I know. I mean, I just feel like how much longer can you keep this rebuilding going on? Like, I think he's going to.
They're a good team, though. Like, I don't want to say.
I mean, 24 and 26. Strong. Yeah. I mean, look,
good team
they're better than the Lakers.
They got pieces, and they have a whole, of picks.
Yeah. And we still got to wait on Chet Holmgren to make his NBA debut.
But like 24 and 26, when you have, I mean, the roster's not the greatest, but it's not the worst. Like Jalen Williams is playing well.
Josh Giddey's there.
Yeah, Josh Giddey's been awesome. Isaiah Joe's been like one of the best catch and shoot 3-point shooters in the league, I think. Aaron Wiggins is doing stuff. I mean, they got Kendrick Williams, who I would love. Any team, every single team should have a Kendrick Williams on their roster. Like,
yeah,
they got some pieces. I mean, Shea's ultimately the one that you're obviously gonna build around at the end of the day. But like, again, Giddey's been playing well. You got to see what you get out of Chet. But like, you can continue adding to that. So there'd be no way or I'd trade Trey.
Yeah,
no way.
I feel that. I think it would have to take a real blockbuster. Like a la Anthony Davis, Paul George type trade packages to really make them think about it.
Maybe like they're
even more than that. I think that's
like Shea's been so good this year. Like
24
years
old.
He's a lock-in for the All-Stars. He's gonna make an All-NBA team, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Let me just quickly look.
He's averaging 30 a night. 30 a night.
5 rebounds, almost 6
on really good efficiency.
Yeah, and then 36.8, 90% free throw. Yeah, almost a 50-40-90. Not too far off. Like I
stealing a block. Like that stealing a block isn't like deceiving. Like he's not the most nimble-footed guy, but like he's a good defender.
He's very long at 6'6".
Yeah, like they're not like a terribly bad team, at least relative to how they've been in past years.
Look,
I think their over-under the Nuggets was like 23.5, and they already surpassed that.
They've made it close against the Hawks and the Kings. Like, they just need, I feel like, kind of like what we've said about like the Magic. Like, I think next year, I guess, could really be the year where they start, making their move and starting to climb up the standings for good.
Yeah, and they've had a top 10 defense the last couple of years too, like sneakily. Mark Dagnall's just done a remarkable job with the rosters that he's been given and developing that talent over time. Like I've made the case when I've written about like the power rankings and stuff. Like the Thunder are a team that you don't want to catch when you're on a bad night.
For sure.
There's like a handful of teams that play harder than them, like on a night-to-night basis. Like honestly, like they play their ass off every single night.
100%. And I think that's a great
they're not going to win a lot of games. I mean, they've won 24 already, but they're not going to win like 40. I mean, they might win 40 games this year. Heck, who knows? But like, they're not going to win like 45, 50 games usually, or at least you won't expect it. But like, they're going to give good teams on bad nights and even good teams on decent nights. They're going to give them trouble.
Oh yeah.
And that's just
like
a testament to how. That's just a testament to how good Dagnall. I think I'm saying his name right. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so.
That's just a testament to how good he's done developing this talent, and that's testament to the coaching staff. But that's also a testament to the players on that roster, because it's like guys like Jalen Williams, the two Jalen Williams, the Giddies, the Sheas. Like there's like I don't want to say there's like an FU to him, but like there's like a competitiveness factor. Like
they've got some dog,
almost like a nobody believes in us type
regular
regular season mentality that you don't often see from some of these teams, but No, I really like where the Thunder are at in terms of their development. I think it's
I
only going to
totally
get better from
agree.
you.
For sure. And I guess we'll just run through the rest of the scores. Obviously, Wizards and Spurs, a bit of a
The
snooze fest.
the Wizards won their first game in San Antonio since 1999.
Really? Wow.
It was like 8,400 days.
Wow.
I think it was like I don't remember the exact number. It was something like 21 or 22 straight losses that they had before last night. Just a wild stat that no one would expect.
Wow,
But
Denny Avdia with 25 off the bench.
they had 7 double-figure scores.
Wow. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like you said, like with the Thunder, like the Wizards have talent. Like, you catch them on a good night. Obviously, the Spurs are pretty terrible, but still, like, Porzingis. Yeah.
The Wizards are in a worse spot. Like, they need to.
Oh, I agree. I think the Wizards are not the upstart rebuild, almost about to end like the Thunder are. But I mean, I feel like they could benefit from trading away Bradley Beal. I think Porzingis for the right price, and if anyone is willing to take on that contract, I feel like they can move on from him. I remember hearing rumblings that the Lakers could have been interested in Porzingis, but yeah, I'm with you there. I think I'm happy that they got Denny Avdia. I think he's going to be a really good player for them in a couple of years. But and the Spurs,
I don't know
the less we say, the better is about the Spurs.
I don't know what you do with Beal.
I mean, obviously, who's going to want to pay him that supermax? Like, is it going to turn into a Westbrook where you're just paying excess of $40 million to a guy who doesn't really contribute to winning? I don't know, but I think
just signed it too.
Yeah, 5 years and 200 more than that million. Like,
I think it was like 250.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
something
and
crazy.
I don't know. I think he might have a no trade clause.
Wow.
So
that's really tough.
He might not want to leave. I don't.
Kind of like a John Wall Part 2 for the Wizards, I guess.
Yeah, I remember. I think because that contract was signed this last summer. I remember when I saw that, I was like, "What?"
Yeah. He's obviously a very good player, great offensive player, but you can't convince yourself to pay him that kind of money unless he stays a Wizard for life. I guess if they want to raise his number up to the rafters, whatever, that's a different story. But still,
like Kuzma, he might be on the move. Although what I've seen since the Rui trade is that they might not want to move him.
Yeah, I guess it was kind of a pick between him and Rui, and they picked Rui.
Yeah, and like Kispert might be another one. He's on what? Is this the last year of his rookie contract?
Yeah, or what is this? Oh, it's only second
year.
No,
not the last. No, I'm thinking of someone different. Never mind. Yeah, so he's still got a couple more years left. He might be a piece that they move on from a year or two. Porzingis, you mentioned, Monte Morris, they could. I don't know the contractual situations for all these guys. Like some team might want Taj Gibson. I don't know.
As a Knicks fan, Taj Gibson is just
Kendrick Nunn.
Yeah, our old friend Kendrick Nunn.
Been doing good in the 3 games that he's played.
He has. I saw he had like some really nice poster not too long ago.
Yeah, and I had it when he was in Miami. I remember I had this theory where like if he was getting consistently good playing time, like 25 minutes a night or more, he would consistently like play well, at least in terms of the box score. That's not always reflective of how a player plays, but like he'd always put up good box score numbers on like somewhat decent efficiency. But like if he wasn't getting 11. That 25 a night, he wasn't gonna consistently play that well. And he got 20 minutes last night. I mean, maybe that's I don't know. I have to do more homework on it, but maybe that's a theory worth
worth exploring
more. But like I just remember times like especially during his, it's not rookie season, but his like first full season in the league as a starter, like he would consistently play 25-30 minutes a night and he would play well, at least relative to his standards. And
I'm surprised to see that.
I mean, shit, he finished what? I think it was second rookie of the year voting in 1920. Wow. So I guess it was his rookie year, but like his first full season starting, like he he was like putting up numbers and like he was shooting the ball well, but then there were times in Miami, like especially in that second year, where I think he got hurt and he wasn't consistently playing as well. I mean, of course we're looking at it right here, the end of the year stats sort of somewhere. I mean, but that was a pretty tumultuous. I don't want to say tumultuous, but like that was a pretty like yucky season for him, especially like in the bubble run towards the end of that. He wasn't. I mean, of course, he started in the finals when Dragic went down, but he wasn't getting a whole lot of playing time because he wasn't consistently playing well.
Right.
But
here you go.
Once he finally got some run, he was playing a little bit better. I mean, Miami was just out of gas at that point.
Yeah. I remember Jimmy Butler and, all of them for that matter, Bam, and, they were running on fumes.
Right. But like he was practically out of the rotation before that finals happened.
Yeah.
And I think there was a few games early in the bubble where he wasn't playing well. That's why he got booted out of the rotation. But just that's my ever-growing, or not ever-growing, that's just kind of my weird Kendrick Nunn theory. Like if he's consistently getting 20, 25 minutes a night, maybe not for a contender, but for just in general.
Right.
Buffalo Wild
oh my gosh. I've had enough of those stupid ads.
Anyways, what else do we have on the docket? What other games?
We could talk about obviously the whole fiasco, many different sides to the whole LeBron officiating, what have you.
Oh boy, what are your thoughts on it before I get?
Well, I saw an interesting camera angle from that replay, and I gotta say, it did look like he kind of traveled.
I mean, they're not gonna call that.
So. I know, but like, is it like poetic justice? Does the non-foul cancel out the travel? I'm not the one to make the decision on that. I think 10 times out of 10 that's a foul. With the contact that Jason Tatum made on his arm is a foul. Now, obviously, LeBron didn't have to act like his dog just died right in front of him and he was like in tears, but still, I don't know. I think he has a right to be upset because I've seen other Lakers games. Someone said, like, the past 4 games, there's been a missed call, whatever, refereeing mishap. And they said, the Lakers probably would have won all 4 of those games and they would have been 4th in the West. And instead they're 13th in the West.
Phone's ringing. Just ignore that.
Oh, okay.
But like, yeah, no, I don't disagree. I mean, I thought it was funny. Just like the reaction that he had to the foul. I know other people don't feel that way. I thought the consensus was it was like kind of humorous, kind of funny, whatever. I mean, I found it more so funny because of who it was.
Yeah.
Because I know LeBron's not necessarily prone to, well, he's not prone, but like he's complained a fair amount in his career.
For sure.
He's definitely not the only one. Like when I see like these reactions and stuff, like did people watch basketball before like 2015 or 2010? Like people from all eras have complained, maybe not as drastically as now, but like people from all eras at certain points. Like I'll throw on 90s games just on YouTube on my computer sometimes. And like you see players complain. It's not as common. It's not maybe as drastic, but like players have complained, but like, I don't know if I've seen such a reaction from LeBron. Yeah. Like it was like, have you seen that? Has there ever been a reaction like that where a player didn't get a technical or get tossed? Like he didn't get a technical.
I haven't. I mean, I think in my head I was like, what could top this? Like what could how could this even get crazier? And of course, right after the commercial break, we see Patrick Beverley with the camera in his hand going up to the ref, saying, "Look at the foul." Like that was just the cherry on top.
I definitely laughed when I saw that. That was hilarious.
I was hilarious. All my roommates, I was like, guys, look. Like I just kept pointing. I just could not believe what I was seeing. It was just so hilarious.
But it's also like when it comes to officiating, when it comes to this type of stuff, I'm usually more pro player than I am pro officiating. 100%. That just stems from a personal, like when I played, I admittedly was one of those guys that like I had my feuds with refs. And so when it comes to that, like I'm usually more a pro player than pro ref, which I understand people who are like, I don't like people complaining. I don't want people to complain after these refs. Like the refs aren't perfect. Yeah, whatever. Cool. So I get that side of it, but like that reaction was a tough look.
Yeah, it was not a
It
good
was a little
look.
bit of a tough look.
I read Trey's article about it, and yeah, I mean, it's not a good look.
It's
No
not.
matter
I
how you
mean,
slice it.
I don't think it's like ruining the league. Like,
Yeah, I think we can say it's definitely a net negative, but I don't think it's the end of basketball or the end of basketball as we know it.
no,
But
at least I don't think so. I mean,
I'm with you there. Yeah, I agree.
no, but like what that was a little bit of a tough look again. I found it funny just because of who it was, and it's like I've just never seen something like that. I mean, yeah, he has a right to be mad because he was fouled, but and there was a number of calls towards the end of that game, at least in regulation, that I think went against LA.
Yeah, that flagrant call on Westbrook, I think that's something that, went in their favor, obviously.
Well, yeah, I went in there, but they were already down 5. Like,
yeah,
I mean, they were down 5 with a minute and a half left. I don't think that was like that big of a swing or anything. I mean, it happened.
Yeah,
I want to say he got hit in the face, like that, something like that.
right.
I wasn't surprised at all that it got called a flagrant.
Yeah,
they review that stuff all the time. But then again, just before regulation, and Jaylen Brown got hit in the side of the head.
Yeah,
it was a super. It was a foul, but it was a super one. It was a super late call, and 2, they didn't even review it for a flagrant, which you would see something like that typically reviewed for a flagrant. At least if it was like within, like it wasn't the last second of the game, because the NBA, I think, has had a problem with last second officiating. Like you see stuff that gets called, or that usually doesn't get called, that probably should get called for like last second shots, whether it's like a last second 3-point attempt or whatever. Some guy might get hit on the arm like LeBron and it doesn't get called. They swallow their whistles in that moment. So like from that perspective too, I'm not surprised that there wasn't necessarily a call for LeBron, but like, again, the reaction, I thought it was funny. Not everyone's going to think it's funny. But it is like just
very
a wild
rare to see him,
in that type of moment. It was a tough look for LeBron, but
I agree.
I'm not necessarily going to fault him for being at least a little upset.
No, I'm with you there.
Again, 100%. I could say if I was in his shoes, I would be too.
Yeah, I think because obviously LeBron's a strong guy. He's made layups through more strong contact than that, but I think
that too.
I think just with the clock, with the situation, obviously Celtics Lakers, the biggest rivalry in the game, all that stuff, like. It can weigh on anyone, and even LeBron James, and it'll be interesting to see, how this relationship changes between LeBron and the officials. Obviously, it's been speculated and talked about at length in the past, but I saw the NBA referee's Twitter account said like there will be many sleepless nights after a decision like this or whatever, something along those lines.
That almost made it like worse. Like,
yeah, they could have just keep moving it forward. Like, you don't have to like.
You don't need to put out a statement like that. Just fix it for next time. I mean, you're right with the point. Like, there has been times where, like, LeBron's gotten like tackled, and there's no calls. Okay, but there also has been times where he, like. He didn't get a technical, so that's right. That's pro LeBron. Every other player in the league would probably get a tech.
Oh, and that's for going on the floor, like slamming your fist and all that, like that kind of animated.
Yeah, like that was every other player would probably get a tech. Like there's guys like you just get terrible whistles who, like, I mean, I'll use this from a Miami perspective. Duncan Robinson gets a terrible whistle. He might foul a lot, but like he looks at the refs and don't get a tech. Like something like that, like he would get it. Like every other player would get a tech in that at least situation. LeBron didn't. I'm not necessarily faulting LeBron or the refs for that. I really couldn't care less if a technical was called or not. But it was just very funny, the optics of everything, especially since Beverly got the tech for the camera, which is the funniest tech in NBA history.
Yeah, I don't think anything can top that.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, the Celtics did win. What do you think about Rivalry Week? Because I mean, they know they had the whole like
I think I think it was a good idea. I mean, obviously you're trying. Obviously what what I think, why would they ever take away the nicknames on the jerseys? I thought that was a great way to get like fan engagement and kind of get some excitement going. But obviously, rivalry week 2, like it was a good slate of games. I really liked watching Embiid and Jokic. I obviously, Knicks and Nets was a really good one in the fourth quarter. Kyrie took over. The Lakers, like, there was a good slate of games, and obviously it's, we've seen it with the NFL before. They love to have the division week, and I thought it was in theory a good idea, and the games for the most part were good.
I don't necessarily disagree, but like did many people like care that it was rivalry week?
I didn't really care. I just saw from a fan's perspective, like, oh, we play X rival, we get to play these guys. But like, you didn't even know it's a part of rivalry week, like.
Right, it almost felt like there was like a poor marketing.
Yeah, like if you're on like
hardly
TNT or something,
knew it was rivalry week.
Yeah, they had on like TNT broadcast, like just not every commercial. Like I didn't see on like a lot of local stations. I don't think they really put those in their commercials.
Yeah, like I mean, it's different with the NBA than it is like maybe the NFL, like where they have like the divisional games, but even those aren't really advertised as like quote unquote rivalries.
Yeah.
And it to me, like the rivalry stuff, not all of the games, like Lakers Celtics is like an obvious rivalry from a historical perspective,
right.
Maybe not as much recently. But like if you were to do that, I think just play the same team like maybe a few times that week, like that would be fun. Like if there was like, I don't know, Lakers Celtics, like they played twice in a season. If they play, I don't know, if they somehow maneuvered the schedule to where they could play 3 times or something like that for that one particular
that would be cool.
Team.
Yeah.
Like, or like even if a team like in the conference, like Boston, Philly, very good rivalry. Well, not very good rivalry, but like a recent rivalry, I guess, so to speak. That would be fun if they played just 3 games against each other just in like a week span. Or like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like another like good one, like Lakers Warriors. I don't know.
Knicks Nets, something like
that. Yeah, like something like where they're playing like teams within the same conference. If they have like a big rivalry or whatever, then advertise it like that. And maybe you do it over a span of like maybe a couple weeks if the teams can't try or whatever. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas, but like, I don't know. It didn't really feel like rivalries. I mean, there were some like good games, like of course Lakers, Celtics, the Nuggets, Sixers, which I don't even think is a rivalry. It's just a random game. But like they had like a set of like, I don't know, a dozen rivalry games. I'm trying to remember. Like I think that Knicks Nets. There were some like decent games in there that they could have. It just didn't feel like it was marketed very well. It almost feels like more of a college thing.
Yes, I definitely feel like. It's not like a real like major league like kind of big league thing, like definitely very collegey because it's local rivals, like you're near each other, that whole territorial thing. And I mean, it's like you said, I think if they went a different way about kind of promoting it and marketing it, I think it could have been really cool. And obviously, like what you said also, like the kind of structuring it in the schedule, like obviously there's chatter about a midseason tournament, something like that. If they manage to make that happen and kind of integrate those two things together, I think that could be really cool. But not a bad idea, but not handled the best way possible. But I guess
it feels like not a missed opportunity, but it just didn't feel like many people cared. Like I personally didn't care. Like I saw 100% Magic on the dock, and I was like, "Oh, cool! Like awesome." I don't.
Like woohoo.
Yeah, woo. Like I'm just like, all right. Like I mean, that's probably more so for me not being in Miami. I mean, I don't even know if Miami people care about that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
At least from what I know, I have no idea. But
yeah, I mean, I guess we could close it out with like some trade deadline stuff. We can go over some rumors. But
I got a couple that I want to share with you. There was something that came out from the Suns this morning.
Was it the whole Jay Crowder thing that about the package with Milwaukee?
No, it was. I think Bleacher Report reported this morning. I think it was this morning that they're looking to like make significant changes at the end of the season.
Oh, really?
Let's see if I could. I saw the tweet earlier. I don't have it pulled up. But like that's interesting. Here, I'm sharing my screen with you now. Hopefully I don't accidentally click the wrong button in.
No worries.
Just some things that came across my desk this morning. So the Phoenix Suns are expected to make significant changes after this season, per Eric Pincus, who's I think a reporter for Bleacher Report. Let me check. Yeah, he does Bleacher Report. So sources say the team has come to terms with the likelihood that Paul's starting to decline. I find that interesting. It's not surprising to me that they're going to make significant changes with the new ownership. Matty Sheepa's coming in.
Right.
I'm guessing he's probably going to bring in his own guys at the end of the season. I don't think he was going to make any midseason changes with like James Jones in the front office or whatnot. But that to me is interesting because Ayton just got his extension. Booker's like at the beginning of an extension. Bridges is, I think, has a few more years left on his extension. I think Paul. I want to say Paul.
They gave him a 4-year deal, I think, after the finals.
Yeah, so I think I think he has like 2 years with like I looked it up like
$30 million or something.
Partially guaranteed on the last year, but like he's still got a couple more years tacked onto that 30 mil plus.
Yeah.
And then the rest, like I think when I looked at it, the only other guy that has like money after this season's like Shamit, it's like inexpensive. It's only like 10 million for the next few seasons, or at least around that mark. But I'm trying to figure out like what, like they would have to get flexibility somewhere. Obviously the first option would probably be Paul, but like what are they trying to get a new point guard? I mean, I don't know if they've been in rumors for it. I think they
haven't heard much.
No, that was the Clippers I'm thinking of. Never mind. But like, is there a team like what would they get for Chris Paul at this stage of his career?
I know.
Like they would probably have to. They have their picks.
They have to throw in a sweetener.
James Jones has been open in the past. I mean, I think it was Kevin Pelton on ESPN had a report last year where like he did like a deep dive into the Suns and like they pretty much just don't care about the draft. And like the Jalen Smith situation is a perfect example. Like how he didn't even make it to his third year. I think they declined his third-year option now.
And now he's with the Pacers.
Yeah, and he was 10th overall. Like that's a top 10 pick that you're not even given a third year. That you're not even like getting your third year like
a value.
Yeah, like you're not even getting that third year option out of him.
That is pretty big. Wow.
Like I mean, I guess the Cam Johnson deal worked out for him. I'm guessing they might try to sign him to an extension. He's been like big for them, but like you would probably have to attach at least a pick or two. I think they still have at least most of their draft capital.
Yeah, and like what team would take him?
Yeah, because it's like we've seen in the past that all it takes is one team. Like there's not a single untradeable contract in the league, in my opinion, because again, all it takes is one team, especially if you throw in the draft capital on top of it. And if a team is sitting there like Phoenix might not be as good in, I don't know, 2025.
Yeah.
We can take that extra pick. We could possibly flip Paul for something else or buy him out. I mean, I don't think they want to buy him out for 30 million, but something like that, or just keep him on the roster for a year and see how it goes. Like, would a team like the Clippers, who have been in rumors for a point guard, would they want a reunion with that?
I know.
They don't have any of their draft picks. Would they? I don't know. I mean, I know they're pretty knee deep into the tax. I don't know if they're financially capable of taking that on. I mean,
I don't know who they'd have to move back.
I think they have a bunch of contracts like Kennard and Morris or whatever. I'm just throwing
Reggie Jackson, I think.
Yeah, who have like sizable money, so they could, in theory, could money match. Would a team like, I don't know, Dallas? Would someone like that like be willing, like, okay, yeah, we'll take the extra pick or whatnot? I mean, I don't, maybe not Dallas. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. But like, what I'm trying to think of, like, what team like would be willing to do that after the season? Because it'd probably be easier to trade him after the season than it would be during the season. I don't think they would do it during the season anyways, but in theory, it would be easier if they are really if they are really committed to making changes.
Right. As
What exactly
Eric
would that be?
says.
Ayton. Before the season, Ayton was thought to be out of there. Like they might try to flip him now that he won't have that not no trade clause, but like they can't trade him to the Pacers for a year, and he would have a say in I think all the other trades after or to
Right.
other teams in the meantime. But like he might be the one that's out the door.
I think
As well. I'm not just with Paul. He might be the one that's out the door as well. It's like, what can you get for him with 3 more years left on that deal?
I would say that a team like Dallas would love DeAndre Ayton. And I think the
Maybe.
Christian Wood experiment is not really going how they expected. They thought he'd really be that number 2 guy behind Luka. But Dinwiddie stepped up, and the other guys too, like Josh Green, Dorian Finney-Smith, you name it, like they really stepped up for them. But I think Luka's time. I mean, I remember when he signed his rookie extension, there was all that speculation and all that media hot air about, this is the last contract he takes in Dallas, that rookie extension, and obviously he's still got plenty of time, but I feel like Mark Cuban and those guys have got to show that they're willing to do what it takes to keep Luka around because, I think he could truly be the next real big domino to fall. We've seen Donovan Mitchell. We've seen, Anthony Davis and Paul George in the past. We've seen, a lot of big names. And I feel like Luka Doncic could really be that next, like, real big megastar to wiggle his way out. I thought it would have been Zion Williamson not too long ago, but I think he's going to stick around in New Orleans. But, I don't know, man. I really don't. Trae Young, I know. I mean, he could potentially be the next domino to fall too. I really don't know how to feel about that situation in Atlanta.
I don't like it. I don't love it. I like the roster, but the Trey McMillan.
Yeah, I think McMillan's.
The optics just don't look great. But then again, you'd have to find a suitor for Trae Young, and that might be hard depending on people how front office executives feel about his play style or the team fit or whatever. But like, just going back to the Suns thing, like I don't know if Dallas would be the team for 8, but like I'm trying to think, like I don't know, would maybe I'm trying to think of like teams that need centers.
Would like the Charlotte Hornets just kind of come out of left field for Ayton? I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, maybe they're a team that does need a center, and even though they have 100 centers, they need a good
all the Zeller and Plumlee brothers you could find.
Yeah. Like I'm not even gonna try to think about it right now, but like like he might be the one that's out the door. Along with Paul, if this is all really true.
This is significant.
It's rumors. Who the heck knows? But Paul hasn't looked as good this year. I mean, he's been good the last few games, but just from a full season,
he's not himself.
You could see there's a little bit of decline. He's not playing terribly. He's not like bad.
He's not unplayable, but yeah.
I mean, we saw how it was. I mean, it's even been rough without Booker, but we saw how it was for the few games that Paul was out too. Like, wasn't the best. Now, part of that was I think Booker was healthy at the time, but still, that's interesting to me.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to be very intrigued by how the Suns, because they are on thin ice. Like, is there a championship window already closed with this group? Is my question.
It might be. Like
I think so. I know.
Here, I'll stop sharing for a second. I'll pull up the things. I think they're like, I want to say they're like 6-7 seed right now.
Yeah, I was thinking around that.
I talked about it last. Yeah, I talked about it last week. There's like only a few game gap between the 3rd seed, the Kings, and the 11-12 seed. So I think they're still definitely in the mix to make noise. I mean, of course, you got to get Booker back before you can even think about talking about yourselves as a contender. He'll be back relatively soon. All right, here, I'm sharing this again. But I don't know. That's interesting to me.
Yeah. A very, a lot of different directions it could go in.
Oh, so not sure. Okay, here we go. So it looks like, they're in a 3-way tie with the Warriors and Mavs but they're in the 7th spot. The Warriors have the best winning percentage, so I guess technically not tied, but in terms of games back,
Right.
they're only one back in the loss column. And so, they're a half game out of the 4 seed. It's not like doom and gloom. But again, we're talking about this as like after the season. Like during the season, I foresee them at least trying to add. I mean, because they have expirings. Like I don't think they're not going to trade Cam Johns, but like he's an expiring. I think if my memory serves me correctly. With like
I know Jay Crowder's going to be on the move. Yeah.
Yeah, Jay Crowder's going to be on the move. Like they have room to at least add something. I don't know if like buyer's the right word, but like with the Jay Crowder trade, they're going to get something in return, whether that's for better or worse,
to be determined. Something like that.
What team is trading for Serge Ibaka?
I mean, I heard the Bucks are really trying to hone in on Jay Crowder.
Oh yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like,
I know, like Serge Ibaka at what, like 35 years old, like he's, how much more can he really?
Right, like I know Miami's been in the room for him.
Yeah.
Miami's in rumors with everyone, but they've been rumors.
Yeah,
with
I mean, I guess I wonder, from your perspective, Matt, what would the ideal trade deadline look like for the Heat?
Let me just give you a rundown of everything that's going on. There's a lot of angst within the Heat fan base. Let me pull. There was a tweet that I tweeted from the Vendetta account this morning. But there's a lot of angst with the Heat fan base right now in terms of making a trade. They're 6th seed. They're, I think, 2.5 games out of the 5th, 3.5 out of the 4th. And so it's not like complete doom and gloom. Heat fans expected this team, or I don't want to say they expected this team. They didn't replace Tucker.
Right.
They started Martin. That hasn't, I don't want to say hasn't gone well, but like they should be looking for other power forward options. They should be looking for a backup big because minutes behind Bam hasn't been good this year, as I talked about last week.
Right.
So the ideal deadline would probably be to get a starting 4. To get, again, I'm trying to figure out like what this would cost. I mean, when it comes to like trying to manufacture trades, usually you're trying to do trades that benefit your team and not, because it's like to get something, you got to give something.
Yep. Like the Islanders,
Yeah, like it's not always going to be the best for you. I mean, there was a piece written this morning, or that came out this morning from the Miami Herald. Barry Jackson did a story of how like the Heat need to make like a significant move. And it was because of like their tax situations. So because they're about 200,000 below the luxury tax. I don't think they're in repeater range. If they supersede that, they might be. But anyways, they don't want to get over that tax.
Yes.
And so they're going to have to shed salary somewhere, because it's like he pretty much went into an argument like, if Miami keeps the same roster they have this year heading into next, they're going to be like $100 million in tax. Plus, assuming they also re-sign like Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, Omer at 7, to smaller deals, plus have Oladipo like opt into his contract. Like pretty much said, Miami is going to get completely just boned by the tax, and luxury tax penalties, and like their owner, not saying he's cheap because he's not, but like he would only really want to go into that tax if they're competitive. Well, they're the 6th seed right now. And the roster, they haven't really been – it's been a tough watch this year for them. Their shooting has been terrible. Yeah. Their offense has been terrible. Their defense has been good. But, like, other than that, there's really not much to look at. They're the antithesis of the current NBA spectrum in terms of scoring. And so how much are you really willing to like go into that tax if you're the owner? And like, what would that take? So then he pretty much made the argument like you have to shed Duncan Robinson, who's making 17 million roughly,
Right.
or Kyle Lowry, who hasn't been
That's
good
what I was
this year,
thinking. Yeah.
who's making 29 million. And so like I guess the ideal is to get rid of at least one of them, right?
For sure.
And see if you can get, I mean, you might have to throw a pick on Robinson. They haven't really cared much about the draft over the last several years. I mean, they, of course, you've probably heard it elsewhere. I've told this to people, like they have over half their rosters made up of undrafted players. And so they get their money from the undrafted pool. They don't get them. They don't make most of their money off like first round picks outside of Bam and Hero. Like, I think when I looked at it, since LeBron's left, they've only made like 6 first round picks.
Wow.
Or I think 6 picks in general.
Wow.
I can't remember. I don't think it was 6 first round. I think it was 6 picks in general, somewhere around that number. So it's like they don't make their money off the draft. I mean, again, Bam and Adebayo are the only Bam and Hero. Excuse me, Jesus, if I could talk, are the only players that like they've kept on that roster that they've drafted for the last several years. They flipped Josh Richardson, they flipped Justice Winslow, and that was in the Crowder deal before in the bubble season. Like, I mean, they got rid of Richardson for Jimmy. Like,
right.
They haven't really. I mean, they picked I guess the other one's Jovic, who is hurt right now, but he's to be determined. I don't know if they're going to put him in the deal, but they might. I don't know. And so with them, like, we're what, 9 days away from the deadline?
Yeah. Very close.
I have no idea what they're going to do. I have no idea.
You know, I'm from my perspective,
but I guess
you would. Yeah. I mean, you would know better than me. 100%.
Try to shed Duncan if you can. I don't think they're going to deal Lowry. They might. I have no idea. But try to see if you can shed Duncan, get a starting power forward, get more shooting, obviously. Get maybe a backup big that they need behind Bam, because it's Orlando Robinson, who's the rookie two-way big right now, isn't eligible for the postseason because he's on a two-way contract.
Right.
And their only other playable big is Omer Yurtseven, who is currently out with an ankle injury, hasn't played the entire season. He will be returning soon, but he was like okay last year. He wasn't great. He wasn't bad, but like he got a lot of his playing time from injuries to Bam and Dedmon. Dedmon hasn't been playable this year. He threw a Theragun on the floor. He hasn't. He was a disaster. And so like, I guess the ideal deadline for him would be just to add pieces there. I mean, I don't know how much flexibility they have with trading Duncan, because he's making so much money and he's hurt right now, but he's also like not negative asset, but he was practically out of the rotation when he did get hurt.
Right.
And so you're probably going to have to attach a couple maybe a pick to that. Plus you might have to trade Strus, Vincent. You might have to trade Depot, who's making $9 million this year. Like, there might be pieces that you don't want to give up, that you might have to give up. I mean, I don't think they're going to make a big trade. If I were to stamp it today, I don't know if it's going to be a big deal. It's just going to be deals to work around the margins to see if they can push into that 4 or 5 range. I mean, they're not going to get a star. At least I don't think. I don't
know in the market who would really be available.
Right, like to get a star, you would probably have to trade Hero, but Hero's on a poison pill, and it's practically impossible to trade him.
Yeah.
And so, like, you'd have to get rid of either Lowry, again, who hasn't been good this year, or Duncan, who was out of the rotation. Which teams are going to take on those contracts, and for what?
Right.
You're going to have to attach picks. So
you got to pay the piper. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think, it's like you said, I don't think Pat Riley really wants to rock the boat here. And I think this is largely the same roster that was a Jimmy Butler made 3 away from making the finals. And I think, and
it's regressed.
Yeah. They're a team that can,
and it's regressed.
just
the shooting's regressed everywhere.
Yeah. Obviously, I was thinking if they were to really shake things up and make a big trade, I would think they should try killing two birds with one stone. If the Clippers really want a point guard as much as reports say they do, I would say, all right, we'll give you Kyle Lowry, but give us Marcus Morris back. And I think you get that power forward, a great shooter, plays a hard-nosed style of basketball. I think that's a move that would make a lot of sense. But again, it's like you said, do they really want to, shake things up like that?
Yeah, like I have seen Morris. Morris is a name. I mean, there's plenty of names out there. Like, there's been rumors for a D'Angelo Russell swap. There's been rumors for Josh Hart, who Zach Lowe pointed out on a podcast that they could be interested in him. There's like the Jay Crowder rumors always. I don't think they would do that unless if it was a buyout. But there's plenty of trades there's plenty of names out there. That's just a very small short list, but there's plenty of names out there that they could potentially get. Morris is one of them. Morris and Covington, maybe. I don't know.
Right.
Because I don't think they would. Again, Lowry's making $29 million roughly this year, and he'll be making $29 million the next. I think it's easier to make. I think it's easier. It would be easier to trade him in the offseason. But like if you watch team basketball lately, Lowry's not been good. Like, he's been it's been tough.
Yeah.
He's the least efficient he's had been almost in his entire career. He's hardly shooting the ball. Like, he's been a good playmaker, but like you gotta get more out of him if you want to make it.
For a $29 million price tag.
Right. And that's what I just pulled this up.
Yeah.
This came out this morning. I tweeted this from the Vendetta account this morning, but like which fans are most stressed watching their team? And I had a very good laugh with this because the Heat are number one, and this is based on analyzing 75,000 tweets for negative sentiment. This is per Replay
10.
Poker. This is the top 10, and and I got a good laugh out of it because the top two teams, this tracks. Although I am surprised, like, the Lakers aren't on here anywhere.
Yeah, that's the one omission I was surprised to see was the Lakers.
But the fact that Miami's number one just made me laugh because I mean, I follow more Heat fans than I do anyone else, just because of what I deal with in my day-to-day life outside of what I do with Vendetta. And again, there's been a lot of angst. There's been a lot of we need to make a move now, which I'm not usually there because you usually see a lot of these deals being done closer to the deadline. It's not like they're going to be the Rui trade was a little bit of an exception to that rule. But there's not a lot of deals, I don't want to say blockbuster, but there's not a lot of big deals made days out of the deadline. So you're usually going to see those next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday when the deadline happens. But there's a lot of we need to make a move now. They're still 28 and 23. They've been a tough watch. I mean, I guess I don't want to say they're on the up and up, but they're kind of they're pedestrian. I mean, they're on the up and up for their record, but they've beaten a lot of not bad teams, but teams who have been banged up. Again, it hasn't been the most fun season from a Heat fan perspective. For someone who watches their games, most of them more than once, it's just that it's not been the most enjoyable experience. But I thought this was kind of the sum of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's my entire Heat spiel. Let's see if something happens.
I mean,
before next week.
Yeah, I mean, I really agree with a lot of that, and I do hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I do feel like we might be out of time because I want to get this on the YouTube, and I know that the StreamYard only has a certain amount of hours we can have saved to the Vendetta account, but I don't think there's a much better way we could close off the show than with that, because I think it'll be a very fascinating trade deadline.
Yeah, I don't think many people want to hear me complain about these, so it's okay.
No, I mean, I for one think it's going to be very interesting because, similar to what we said about the Suns, they can go in, so many different directions with the pieces they have and the money they have in Duncan Robinson, Lowry, etc. And, obviously, I think in terms of picks, they're pretty good. You would know that, I don't think they've really given up maybe with getting Lowry, they had to do the sign and trade and give something up, but, it'll be interesting.
They have 3 tradable first-round picks in 2023, this upcoming draft, 2027 and 2029, with swaps available in 2024 and 2028. So they could, in theory, attach one of those picks. But Are you willing to attach a 2023 pick when your next tradable first round pick outright would be in 2027? I don't know.
It's a risk. I mean, Jimmy and Bam are a very good duo. And I think it's like, just what you said, finding a good power forward, finding an answer to Kyle Lowry, no matter what it is, whether it's trading him, finding a new starting point guard, etc. And, obviously we'll have our answers in 9 days, or else we're going to have to wait until the summer. But,
I can't wait until that 9 days.
Yeah. But I think, I think this is all we have. Matt, is there anything else, any closing points you have?
Please go like and subscribe to the YouTube as always.
Yes. It should be up.
If you're watching on Twitch, please subscribe there as well. Any closing thoughts? Go Heat, I guess.
Yeah.
They played tonight against Cleveland. Yeah. So, I mean, who the hell knows? They gotten their doors blown off by Cleveland earlier in the season. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's having a great day so far. Thank you for tuning in. If you got this far, thank you.
I see. Yeah, we got a viewer. Thank you for watching it, and I hope you enjoyed. But again, I think we'll probably do this again next Tuesday, Matt. I think we're kind of the Tuesday slot from now on. But again, everyone who's watching, thank you, and we will see you on the flip side.